All right. So this is a restorative session, but we are going to start at the wall, and we're going to purposely work on the self-study of our bones and our how we create, I guess you could say, balance in the bone structure. So you got your yoga props, you add a chair today, and I want you to start out so that you're facing to your wall. Have a bolster at the base of the wall so it's flat. It's a standard size bolster. You don't want a round bolster for this part. And you're going to face to the wall and let your arms kind of reach so they stop you from falling on your bolster. Okay. Most of the session you'll see most of me, but some of these pieces there might be some positions where you'll see my arms and the whole formula of my leg, and that's okay. That's kind of what we're focusing on. So I want you to feel when the arms are pressing, but you're also stretching through the rib cage with the chest motioning down. So take a sorting out of your feet. Bring your feet back or bring your feet a little wider, one or the other, or both. And, feel if the kind of intersection of the arm into the shoulder, if that area feels a little bit tense on one side more than the other. And if that's so, I want you to let your feet get a little closer together and bend your knees. So it's like you're pressing to move out of your back muscles. Of course, we can vary this by being closer to the wall, farther back, which is more work. And so you'll need to kind of prescribe your postural intensity here. Okay. Now, feel the palms, the hands opened out at the wall. And then as you press the fingers out wide, all the way from the thumb to the pinkies, I want you to start to lift up your head. So you're stretching up towards upward dog and you're reaching your chest towards the wall, but the arms are straight. That's going to decide if the arms can be straight, that you're pressing the wall away and you're creating a little bit of this kind of banana shape. It's like banana through the belly and the upper collarbone area. Okay, and then tilt back center, and I want you to walk a little closer to the bolster, and you're going to bring your right foot so the toes are up, you flex your foot, the heel is on the ground, stretching your right calf, walk your hands up the wall so there's no wrist pressure at all. It's just that your arms are lifting so that you have some ability to extend out of your spine, okay? I would take the left foot farther back if you can. I mean, if you don't fall over, but if you get a sense that your right calf is stretching, now the closer I bring my left foot forward, I actually get more calf stretch for me. But again, this is emphasizing your calf on the right foot. Oh, sorry, the right leg. My calf is on my foot. Okay. Now switch sides. So right foot back, left foot up to the bolster. Now remember, the foot is on the ledge of the side of the bolster. The toes are up, the heel is down, and the arms could be lower, they could be higher. It's going to be just letting your eyes close and sense the circulation in your calf, right? Feel if you get closer, maybe you decide to just kind of squiggle your right foot back and sense the circulation in your left lower leg. Maybe you bring the right foot a little forward. Okay, this is a little bit of a self-inquiry in the beginning for your bones. Okay, now as we bring that left foot back, I want you to have enough distance with your right foot from the bolster that you can swing the left foot back and up. And again, think banana shapes. So you bend through the elbows, they're bending as you let your left leg lift up behind you. Square off the right hip and lower the left foot and switch the leg back and up in the air. Right foot back and up, great. And just working your way towards recognizing challenge and balance, the order of things in your bones, breathing. Okay, let's get easier on this now. So we're going to turn to the back to the wall. And I want you to lean down and bend your knees and turn your bolster up. So the side of the bolster is down versus the flat end. And you're going to kind of work your seat back to touch the wall. You know, the reason I mentioned move the bolster this way so that you have enough space here if you want to get closer. If it's all the way down, I think it's limiting and it's a little scary, the balance. You almost feel like you're going to somersault to acquire that shape. But blocks, yeah, use a block set here to cultivate that circulation from your hips to your shoulders. Yeah, so get a feeling where your back is reaching. Now, some of us will find that we're fine without the blocks, but give some moments to feel that balance of the back muscles starting to lengthen with circulation. As you maybe lower down without using the blocks, you could. If that feels like your spine is safe and it's thoroughly lengthening, and you can release your hands completely from the blocks if you choose, holding your elbows. You can bring your hands down and let the arms dangle, and then let the weight of your brain release. So linking that length from the backs of the legs all the way through the lower back and down through the spine. It's kind of funny because the spine is at the base really in this position versus at your top part of your experience in your body. So it's a different, circulation for your blood pressure, for your stability. So see if you can feel the breath even when you arrive in this upside down shape. The sinuses are challenged in this position for certain. You can hear that when someone talks in this pose. Those of you that are holding your elbows, change the crossing with the hands, elbow crisscross. Those that are with the blocks, you might decide to just bring the blocks closer towards your feet and really get a feeling of your seat at the wall. That's not a bad definition because it's going to be really interesting where we blend this one with our seat towards the wall. Okay, so as we transition from Uttanasana, this position, forward bend, I want you to let the legs soften at the knees, so bending. And then if you have blocks, just set them over towards the sides. And if your bolster is lifted up like so, you're going to scoot your feet with your seat at the wall, kind of wiggle, squiggle movement, and turn the bolster so it's flat. And then careful motion. I would move your feet forward, and then sit on the bolster. Your blood flow is kind of all the way up to your face, so you might feel a little stirred up, but you're grounded. If you feel like you're going to fall over, you're already on your seat. And then scoot your seat to one side of the bolster. And as you scoot over, your body will eventually tip off of it or scoot into it with the hips. So I want you to reach your hands down. So let's say you're at the right side of your bolster. You'll walk your feet to the right and you'll bring your arms on the outside of the left leg. Some of you will recognize this as like side crow pose from long ago. If you're on the left side of your bolster, you're going to bring your arms to the right leg, inside the right leg. Actually to the side, right? Walk your feet back, and if your wall is still right here, you got more wall space than this, you'll really have to work your stomach muscles to get upside down. So you'll lean, and then roll to swing the legs up. If this isn't your preferred way of getting to legs up, you can try another version, which some people just scoot up to the wall from their back. And then once you elevate on the bolster, use a blanket under your head. Yeah, this is a particular sequence today, very particular. Every little piece of it's important. So see if you can kind of follow as best as possible best practices, and if some of the patterns are too confusing, I'll try to elaborate so it's easy to understand. So we take our sand and we lift the sandbag up. So you might clutch the sand if you're using sand at all. You don't have to. You can have your legs lifted and rest your feet just there without anything on them. But if you prefer a little bit of additional circulation bonus, bend the knees. Or if you have somebody around that puts your sand on, you can ask for help and get the sand on your feet. You'd have to know exactly what part of the class you need that helper, huh? Maybe we could figure that out. Okay, so with the legs having a really mild separation at the knees, it's fairly essential that your knees aren't pushing together on the inside band. Reason being, we want to create some strength around the knees, right? That's probably a benefit that you will get from this pose because you're in the opposite of your standing posture. See, you don't have a habit in this position as much as standing on your feet. So just let your body get into the balance of breathing and stillness here. Think of this as part 2 of trying to begin practice with breath. We can finally arrive there. Stretch your elbows out. Find the balance from your elbows back up to the wrist. And feel the movement of the in and out breath. Closing your eyes. Feel repetition and a little kind of twinkle of releasing on the exhale. Now be sure that your head has something under it and it doesn't go below your top shoulder, right? So it's just under your neck. You make sure that that alignment at the neck is elongating. So it might feel like there's a little stretch in your neck. Feel the abdomen expand. And gently relaxing it back towards the spine. So let's give the legs a few more moments to receive the circulation right from the extremities back towards the heart. It's like the legs have purpose here to help bring circulation back to our heart and to our lungs and the brain. Because during the day when we stand up, it has to constantly push down to the feet and bring it back to the heart. So now it's just resting the organs. Okay, now let's try feeling as we move our feet away from the wall. Bend your knees, maybe open your eyes, and just moving the sand away. I want you to have a ball. It's easy enough to get a hold of that, I hope so. Place it between the knees. I know it's still quite a challenge with the hips up in this position, but feel if you can slide your heels back at the wall and have the ball between the knees, and just a like 25% squeezing in of the ball. Maybe 35 is okay, but I don't want you to total your legs, but you feel as if there's some pulling, contracting right into the legs themselves, right? Especially the adductors. Okay. And then we'll see if we can keep the ball. That'll be kind of humorous for all of us. So we'll slide the feet down, and then what I want you to do is slide your blanket all the way back so it's behind your head. And then you'll scoot on your shoulders to slide back. You might have to adjust your top, because sometimes they go up to your throat. That's not what I want you to have your top at, but get comfortable now. And then as you slide your feet down, my seat is pretty close to my bolster. I'm not entirely back. There's going to be several different sections of working with this. So I want you to have your legs at a right angle. My feet might look a little bit too high. So I want to look towards my knees, and then my feet, I can just see my toes. Okay, just see my toes. I don't want my feet too high up. That'll make it easier, actually. So if you do want it easier, let your feet be a little higher. If you have challenge, just slide them up. So if you lost the ball, place it back between the knees. And then it's tempting to slide them up over and over. So try to keep them to the wall, and then let your pelvis tilt so you feel the tailbone kind of tilt under. You're not dedicating this to a full, cat pose with the back. But I want you to feel the back kind of press into the ground. And if your arms need to be kind of robot arms, that's fine. I like to let my arms go back behind me. But as you stretch you don't stretch, actually, you effort. So you push into your feet and you lift up to stretch through your spine. This is a great spine advantage here. And get a feeling, is this blanket feel good under my head? It's not for me, to be honest, today. So I'm scooting my back. You can always go down to the blanket, lower your hips down so we're not getting fatigued yet. You can always make your blanket just a little bit lower. That actually works quite nice. Okay, now alternate lifting and lowering, and I want you to keep that hold of the ball, just like even 10% effort. So you just use it as a spacer. If you have a temptation and just kind of squeeze it a little bit, no worry, you get extra points for that. But lift and lower the spine, and just get a feel for if the arms go with it. The arms are part of your posing. Feel if they actually assist that massage. So if my arms go straight up, then it seems to kind of broaden my back. And I'm just curious about my body's alignment when it lowers down. So your arms may go really slow, they may go fast. I tend to try to connect with the span of the vertebrae, each vertebrae, shifting down. Remember, your 12 middle vertebrae are connected to your ribs, so you'll feel that in the core, in the center when you lower down. Okay, last time. Let's go lifting the hips up. Good, so keep the movement. You start with the tail shifting under. It's not about how high you get yet. We'll get there. We'll go to our height, maximizing the circulation in the hip flexors. But once you lower down, okay, just bring your knees to your chest, take a hold of the ball, and I want you just for fun, or put the ball under the left buttock or the glute, actually glute medius, so it's higher on the back of it feels like it's low waist, and massage side to side. Doesn't really feel so much like my buttock, but kind of that upper connection into my back of my pelvis. Massage, and then see if you can kind of move that hip over to the left, lift up, push into the wall with your feet so you can get the ball to the other glute. And that glute band, right, it weaves around to the side of the hip. So wherever you roll on the ball is fine. If you tend to swing your hip over to the side, kind of wag your tail, that's great. It should be a feel-good sensation. And it probably makes a little sound. Okay. Now lower your feet down to the bolster. Push into your feet. Scoot the ball out for the moment. Slide the spine down and bring your feet together, your knees apart. Okay. I would add my blocks here under my legs so that there's a little bit more balance to the position, even if, let's say you can be without the blocks. Well, if you were, a detective watching, looking at the pattern of your leg, likely you got one that's just a tiny bit lower than the other. So we'd use the blocks so we know the balance. So if they're kind of pushing into your skin and you can tolerate it, tolerate it. If not, you can pivot the block so it contours the leg, which feels kind of good, as long as they don't slide out. And then let's take our sand. I want you to try this. You place the sand across. It could be belly, it could be ribs. If it's claustrophobic for you to feel the sand in this type of awareness on your back, don't use it. It's no requirement. But it's an idea for sandbag breathing. Sandbags don't care about breathing, but your body responds to them well. And bring your arms to each other at the hands, interlace, and stretch the hands up straight towards the ceiling, just up from your heart. Yeah, if your head feels kind of low, it might be, you might have your blanket lower. So you can always bring it up more or adapt. We want to try to adapt our neck so it's a little bit, there's more of this back tilt with our head versus forward. And this is probably better for my neck to be with less blanket anyhow. But we're used to rounding our neck quite a bit. So breathe so that the sand has to move with your in-breath. And then exhale, letting go. If it seems pretty minimal of awareness, try to stay with the arms straight towards the ceiling, not moving them back yet. Okay, just let the thighs adapt. Take a few more breaths. What might happen is your arms, you perceive they flow a little bit back with the breath. But try to keep them straight out. Breath for 4 count in and 5 count out. Now release the clasp of your hands. Lower to slide the sand away. And then get a ball. Okay, if you don't happen to have a ball, you could use a block under your sacrum for this one. But we'll shift our knees to point up. And what I want you to have is a connection to the wall that's slight. So you're going to scoot back. If you've got your blanket like this, I think I'm going to bring mine back up to that quarter fold. That's how I created that fold. Okay, slide back so that you can just hold the ball. So you can, if you reach to your feet or foot to the wall, you can feel your knees bending. Okay, now so that, well, with your bolster, they're going to bend somewhat anyway. But I want you to be far enough back. So the farther back you go, probably better. It's still just a little bending. And then feet to the bolster. Push down into your feet, lift the hips up, place the ball into your sacrum. Okay, so it feels like it's right between the buttocks, right, but it's not between the fold, right? It's right above. So it's more the base of the pelvis is what you're going to land on. And it could be a block, right? If you decide you don't want to use the ball, you can use a block. And I want you to bring your right knee. So you're going to bend your right knee to bring it towards your chest and reach the left foot to the wall. But it's the less wall that you touch, the better the core work here. So it's almost as if you want to kind of just tease the ball, the foot touching the wall. Don't put energy into trying to push the wall. And bring your arms either open if your shoulders don't adapt to going behind you, which is fine, or your arms go back. Watch out for those chairs. Okay, so we're going to alternate the leg right now. So we're going to keep the arms either out to the side or back behind you. The arms could be resting on the blanket, kind of up in the air. They don't have to be completely down, but they could be. And alternate your foot touching the wall and see if you can balance in the center between the touch to the wall so you really can coordinate that lower back stretch. So keep a tuck of the knees. Don't let the legs completely straighten out, really ever in this one, no complete straight leg. And then alternate to get that lower abdominal musculature tuning up here. So this should feel like a little bit disturbing in the core. That means doing core work, it's disturbing your core. Core disturbance. Okay, so give it a few more times to alternate. I think it makes sense to you, yeah? Okay, yeah. So when you bring your knee in towards your chest, if you're trying to flex your foot, that's okay, but that might be easier on your back if you flex your foot that goes, the knee that goes in. It might be nice to just let that foot relax so you can bring more to your centered piece of the body. And then next time you shift your knees back in, let both of them move towards your chest. You're still on the ball. All right, now give it a try. Lift the feet up, straight up. No wall use, right? Definitely, we're not near the wall now. Arms could be back, behind, they could be out to the side, but feel the feet, just feet. They don't have to flex or point. They're somewhere in between, aren't they? And just let the back of the pelvis center on the ball. It should feel wobbly if you're not quite still. It's the essence of this core, kind of the vibration of the core body. It's like a vibration plate. It's creating that sensation, isn't it? A little bit, tiny bit. All right, so notice for a moment if that you feel any hamstring stretched at all, anything in the legs as far as stretching. It might be minimal, it might be something. But as you bend your knees, I want you to kind of test your balance here. So bending through the legs, bring your arms forward. You're going to knock over that chair. So arms forward so they're just hovering over the ground. Head stays back, brain is back, don't lift up your head. So you can stay back with your neck muscles. Okay, and then bring your knees to your chest first, so your back gets a full stretch. It should feel pretty good. Hands on the ground, elbows down. And then lower your feet to the bolster. Push down into the feet, just whatever part of your foot that pushes. Lift the hips, slide the ball out. And then once your spine centers down, you're going to push the bolster actually over to the right side. So I want you to have your bolster gets to move away from the wall. Kick it to the right. Okay, it should be, straight to the side. Okay, right on the side. And then let the right foot come to the wall. And I want you to get a feel that you have your foot, the heel at the base. Let me think how that might work for some of your baseboards. I just get my heel right at the bottom, so I have a little curve with the foot on the board on the base. But the key is that you're really pushing into the wall. So you're going to need a sandbag and a belt for this. And I want you to be sure that your foot is touching the wall. Okay. So if it's sort of kind of touching, scoot down so you can always grow longer on this one. So if you have a little bend of the knee, it's better than the leg hyperextended for the whole time. Okay. So now that we have that established, we've got the left leg, maybe your foot is on the ground for the moment. But let's take our sandbag and we're going to place it on the front of that left thigh, the right thigh. The words were coming out, but I couldn't change them in time. The brain was correcting, but the words were going. Okay, so we got our belt. Got our sand on our right leg, front leg, right leg. It could be, lengthwise. You could turn the sandbag to horizontal. It doesn't really need to be either one, but whatever you feel like it stays. The knee's going to go down at that point. Okay. Now, bend the left knee enough so the left foot kind of swings into the center, and you're going to reach to the belt into the foot, and stretch the left leg up. get with the program. Now, the reason I had you buckle up so you had a big loop, it's going to be completely individual if you decide to use that. I make sure that my blanket is high enough under my head, but I don't think everyone's going to want to do brain flow on this one. So it's really sense right now when you hold your belt, before you try to get the belt behind your head, sense the back of that left leg stretching. But more important, especially for those of us that are flexible, feel the connection of the back on the ground. So we're not really working on how flexible our legs are. It's about the connection and support of your back. Okay, so once you feel, probably each side of the spine has a different balance on the ground. Not quite exactly the same because your leg is up. Okay, so this is the idea. So door one is this. We got our foot pushing up. I've got the belt to the arch. I'm flexing, so what's making my calf stretch? It's a pretty fierce stretch. Okay. Option two, we take the belt, make sure it's not too loose. Okay. And then bring it behind your head, way too long of a belt there for me. And then I place it to the occiput. It may have been a long time since you did this pose. I don't see that we've done it for weeks and weeks. So you might like this to add in today. So even if it's less calf stretch now for you and it kind of moved to the hamstring, you might prefer just the ease of it. So your hands don't have to do anything. Hands-free pose. And the right foot is pressing into the wall. You have all kinds of prints on your wall. Okay, so feel where the shoulders are resting in this version. Still using the sand on the leg. Those of you that are holding your belt, the energy in the spine, right, is a little bit more muscling along the sides of the spine, tiny bit. One is more flexibility with the brain float, and this one is a little bit more muscling into the position. Those of you that aren't doing brain float, you get an added option. But the brain floaters are probably at peace, right? Just closing their eyes and floating away. Okay, those of us that are holding the belt, we're going to bring the belt sides together so the left hand holds it. Right foot doesn't turn, it stays at the wall. And see if you can start to move your left leg out to the side. You might have to keep your right hand on your sandbag so that the leg doesn't turn in and the hip doesn't come up. Oh dear, you find that you can't go very far when doing it with the rules, huh? You might put your sand a little higher. You might be getting out of brain float because you're curious about your range on this one. So you can move your leg maybe farther out, but keep in mind that right foot doesn't change. That's the rule on this one. Right foot stays the same. Okay, it's a good core band strengthener. I find this to be interesting lower core, not so much just leg. And then bring the left leg back up for those option outers. And then once we come back, we're going to meet with our belt off of the back of our head, straight up with the foot, and then slide the sand off, change so right foot is up in the belt, left foot is to the wall. Try to get right into the second side. I want us to get all of this stuff in today. So left leg has the sand. If you don't want to use a sandbag, it's fine. Oftentimes it's taught without. So the left heel is down at the base of the wall. And then I can feel my calf on this side a little bit more. And you might find differences in your calf, especially your dominant leg. If you do a lot of walking, it could be unobvious, curious awareness in the leg. So you try to feel how your tailbone presses down. Yeah, I kind of like this holding. I know the brain float is tempting because it's a peaceful position to work with. But we're all trying to figure out our personal postural, clarification, what would be our best choices for posture. So if this is pretty dull for you, the brain float, you can opt out of it anytime. So those of you brain floaters, enjoy. And those of us that are working with our calves and our muscling experience through the leg, pull on the belt. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed. You're not pulling them up towards the ears, no shrugging. And just feel the definition of that right pelvis on the ground. If you feel that the right back, the attachment, not at the leg itself to the sitting bone, but from the sitting bone area around up to the pelvis, if that feels like it's kind of shortening, what you might work with is pulling the leg a little bit back towards your chest to lengthen out that side of the back, stretch out the lower back. Yeah, and if it's too harsh for you to find this gripping pull with the hands, you might slide the elbows to the floor and kind of have a little milder pull. It might be pleasant for you. And you can always come into brain float anytime. Okay, now bend through that right leg a little bit. Those of us in brain float, just continue relaxing. Those of us holding the belt are going to bring it together with the right hand and move the leg out. Okay, even if it feels really fundamental, simple work, clarify how your back pelvis centers. Your left heel is pressing a little bit into the wall. Front of the left thigh is down. Breathing. Now be in the moment rather than spending the mind spinning into, well, what happened last side? Was I farther? That type of thing. Just feel the muscular movement out. Pure and simple. Okay, now as you pull through the hand on that belt and move the leg back up and center, bend through the knee. And if those of you that have brain float, slide the belt off the back of your head and then bring both feet down, slide the feet to about hips distance, sand away, push into your feet, lift your hips up into a bridge pose. Like you would, this is your most basic bridge pose with no props. Hands are straight down by the sides, palms are open towards the ceiling. Okay, so just define the hamstring strength, the hip flexor reach. Okay, try to get the hips to go up a little higher. There's always farther to go. Okay, now lift your heels, lower the spine down, all the way down through the base that you can touch down with your spine, not your hips, but your spine. Okay, now slide the right foot down to the wall and cross the left leg over to the bolster. Okay, so we've got a ball option at the sacrum area, so you can kind of nudge a ball into that spot. And then if you like sand on the outer left leg, or if you decide today, I don't need that sand right now, I'm pretty good, you might be kicking your bolster a little bit to the right. But essentially what we're working to create is this deepening kind of flow from our back, our spine, and then into the legs before we do any chair work when we're standing, upright. So I want you to really feel your roots. So when that leg crosses over, well, hopefully in most classes we find our roots kind of first. But as we cross the left leg over, let your head roll to the left. The leg goes to the right, of course. And then as your head rolls to the left, let your eyes relax. breathing slow. Try to connect to the lungs, so a deeper breath. And now head rolls back into center. And then we slide that sand away. And when you bring the ball motion back into center, see if you can unwind the crossover of the left leg and bring the knees to your chest, place the ball between the knees, feet off of the ground, and reach for the bolster on the right side and move it over to the left. I'm actually going to move it in a moment so that you can see. Otherwise, you might not find the description easy to follow. So squeeze into the ball. And then when you're squeezing in, instead of moving your knees to your chest or even away from you, keep them straight up as much as you can tell from your hip bones. And lift up the feet so you have that right angle. And really take some care to squiggle around so your back feels flat. Okay, flat back. Bend the knees a little further. Well, they're already bent, I know. Lower your feet down to the ground and push into the ball. So squeeze the ball, lift the hips up into that bridge pose again. And then noticing when you squeeze into the ball, do you really squeeze your glute muscles a lot more than you did without the ball last time? Maybe you can't remember what you did a minute ago, but when you lift your hips up, you can remember what you did 2 hours ago, but not a minute ago. So when you lift your hips up, I want you to squeeze into the ball. And so your legs are all on fire here. They're all awake. Now relax the grip. If you lose your ball, that's okay, but relax your grip so you still have it stuck to your pants. And then as you lengthen the spine down, depends on what kind of pants you got, if it'll slide out or not. And then let your spine lower down. So your legs are entirely strong all the way through as the spine lays down. Okay. Good to have strong legs for spines and hips. And then you'll start to take the crossover to that bolster on the left. So knees into chest to be careful to move the ball from a straight spine. Left leg straight down to the wall. It doesn't have to cram into the wall. You might scoot back so the foot just touches the wall. And cross the right leg to the bolster. Yeah, and feel like that crossover for me is too compact. It's too much. I'm too close to the bolster. So I'm going to scoot a little to the right side. And that just gives me a little bit more rotation on my hips. So it's okay to find things that are pleasant in the practice, pleasant practice. And as the sand goes to the outer right thigh, if you use it, the ball I think is pretty helpful for anchoring the sacrum. And then stretch your right arm open and turn your head to the right. Left arm could be anywhere it's comfortable for you. But feel that rotation through the ribs, breathing. Yeah, feel the twist in the mid spine, right, versus the collarbone area. I know there's an openness of the chest. And noticing that there is some twist in the mid and the belly. Everything will be accurate, right, as long as you feel rotation and twisting. A slow, deep breath. And exhale fully, letting go. Okay, so when we have the legs with all this circulation from the spine into the extremities, we're going to be kind of adding upper extremities in a moment, just a little bit of that. So I want you to get a feel for the right hip right now at this moment. Feel that hip. And then as you slide the sand and the ball, and then we just roll to that left side and we come up, well, we come kind of halfway up, we come around to our knees, and let's go minus any extra props. I don't think you're gonna really need, well, maybe you need a blanket underneath. Why not? Use a blanket, be comfortable. Comfortable is okay. Bolster goes away for the moment. Blanket is to the knees for the moment, under. And we have the hands wide as the mat and the roundedness of the back, the chin towards the chest. Cat pose. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flex the spine, chin to chest. Inhale, so my arms are quite far forward, right? They're not right under my shoulders, they're reaching. Okay, so now I want you to feel when you walk your hands over to the left side of your mat, how the spine reaches to the back right corner. So you kind of reach it towards the wall and then walk your hands to the right. So this is not exuding the most arm stretch possible, but we're trying to feel the landscape of the back when we stretch our hands now to the right and we reach the hips to the back left corner. Kind of feel the landscape of your back. Okay, now when you bring your hands back forward, push the floor away and lift up your knees and stretch your heels so they're a little bit up at the wall. They're lifted at the wall. So you're at the balls of the feet, lifting your heels, stretching the arms, pushing the floor away. Yeah, it's quite a bit of energy in your arms, isn't it? It's a lot of volume. Okay, take a step forward. If you need your blocks into your hands, get them. Bring your knees down, put your blocks into your hands if you need that. If you feel like you can work your way from here to a lunge, stay with the hands on the ground, but use the lift of the heels so you have some momentum. And then step the right foot forward between the hands. Now, if you're finding you have to really lift up the heels of your hands to do this, you need blocks. That's it. You just need the floor to come up to you. So that's a reason for blocks. So find that lunge that's kind of a low, it's not a low lunge, it's a mid lunge because your knee's off the ground. So feel if your waist can get close to that right leg, like your kind of right side of my torso is close to my thigh. I'm not focusing on perfection of angle. I'm just focusing on putting my body weight into my right foot, my right leg. Not so much in my hands anymore, a little bit. And now I want you to step the left foot forward, the right foot back. Heel is up at the wall, still lifted. It's not all the way down, not yet. We'll find that. So feel how the heart starts to get a little active, a little bit vascular connections. You're getting up off the ground, your heart has to work a little bit more. It's definitely interesting when you kind of go through the slow paces of yoga practice that you can notice when the vascular activates. Day-to-day habits, it's not so obvious, I think. Okay, now we're going to, since you already know where your blanket is back there, I want you to go ahead and slide that blanket away off to the side yard, step forward with the right foot. Now, be a little cautious when you get your chair. How do you get from here to chair? So when I get my chair, I'm going to put my blocks to the side, use my hands on my legs purposely to help myself up. And then when I get my chair, still here, get your chair, bring it halfway on your mat. So let's see, what would exactly halfway be? Yeah, everyone's a different length. So those tall people, you're going to have your chair a little farther back. Maybe, we'll see. So have your chair with the seat facing you, the back bars away. And then I want you to step back. Actually, let's do this first because we've been tilting at our hips for a bit. Let's go ahead and stand up and bring your right foot up to the chair seat. Yeah, let's change the spine angle for a moment. Let's do some good adaptation here. So when I was thinking about this, I know you can't see me up here, but I'm still here. I was thinking about the balance for this. You can either have your knee bending or you can have your leg straight. Now this leg straight could be at the chair, seat, still at the chair, or it could be at the back bar, right? Well, that's a little bit of a challenge, right, with your balance to get your foot back at the back bar and trust that. But you could play with it. If you're it's a little sketchy for you, I wouldn't choose this choice of the bar. But if you're back to the wall, you want to get farther back, you can play with that for your balance, for your ankle, your left ankle, and the whole leg band into your pelvis. So play with it. If your hamstring doesn't allow and you're shaking and it's quivering a lot, then you're either here or your leg is straight here. Okay, this is probably a good in between one right here. But I don't want you to go like this. I don't want you to lean forward. I want you to stay up, to stack up with the strength into your hip and your spine. Yeah, this is actually pretty nice, just bending my knee. I like this too. Switch sides. So we've got a good 2 minutes on that one, almost 3. So we've got our left knee up, foot up, either here, spine is up, so you have an extended spine, right? Or maybe you decided you're gonna get a little closer and try to get that left foot on the bar. This requires you to really stabilize all these parts of your body because you don't want to fall over. So you just try and effort a lot so you can stay on the edge of it. If your hamstring permits, you just go for it. You know, what do you got to lose? Maybe your balance. Don't look to the side. Okay. It goes pretty quick when you lose it too. You just out, wipe out. All right, now that the back has had all this kind of zap, it's been a back zap to do this pattern. Step down if your foot was at the bar, so your left foot is on the chair seat. So you have some correspondence with the spine arching. Okay. And then let's simply, good job. Good work. Bring your left foot down, bring your hands to the chair seat. This should be easy. So now as we lower down our head, it doesn't need to go between the arms, but I do want you to find your chair distance from the wall. So some of you get it's halfway probably. I think the halfway point about is good. You can always shift your chair, but you want to stretch back so your seat is at the wall and your head is between the arms if possible. We did this long ago in the class. We did something in the beginning with this representation of our shoulders, but it was not this far down. This is a little farther than when we had our hands on the wall. Okay? So it's more of a reach. So spend the time here with your hands on the chair for a few more moments. If you decide to walk your feet farther back and just kind of feel that out, that might feel better for your back muscles. You might want the chair farther away, but I want you to work on that breathing into the back. Like when we do bolster work, chest openers with our bolster behind our mid to upper back, find that connection into your back. Okay, armpit, chest open. Great, we're still here. A little bit of shifting around, looks like. Okay. Now, looking to your feet, I want you to start to keep the arms where they're at. Start to scoot your feet a little closer. They can kind of just nudge on the ground and try to creep towards each other. Creepy feet. All right. Now, look to your feet to do the movement. I know it's hard to not assimilate your arms to do moving around, but isn't it great that we're able to work on our Usually your feet get you moving, but right now you're trying to use your arms to get yourself forward. That's what's happening. So I want you to just notice that. So lift up your back muscles, right? Lifting up. I don't want to say lifting your head because you're starting to lean towards the chair now with your body weight in your hands. Step the right foot under the seat. Well, don't step it up to the seat, but step the foot on the ground under the seat of the chair. And then feel yourself properly lifting up. Yeah. Your tail is reaching back, your leg is straight. Your hands could be on the chair seat, they could be on the back bar of the chair. So if you're feeling like you're getting shorter this way, you could bring your hands up here. I just don't want you to strain this back area because we're going to do side sage today, and I want you to feel like this area gets some nice complementary spacing. So one thing I like to do is bring my hands to the side of the chair seat so I'm not palm down with fingers forward all the time. And so my thumbs, get a little bit of stretch on that inside span of your hand, that webbing, right? So as you feel where that reaches, the right foot presses down, the left heel is back and down on the ground. That was the difference, is now your heel is down. Okay, right hand to the sacrum, back of the hand. Left hand is going to be on the chair seat. So bring the whole palm to the chair seat on the very left side of the chair seat, on the seat itself. And then rotate to your right, but be calm, right? You want to find that your stomach muscles turn to the right a little bit, and you rotate your rib cage to the right. Yeah, the right shoulder tries to track back. If you're getting a little tired in your left arm, just try to bend your elbow. Feel if you can work with your flesh of your rib cage. No one wants to make their joints weaker or tired, so you're working with all these thick places in between. Breathe. Okay, now for me, if I look down and I just see what's going on with my right leg, my inside of my foot tries to lift up a bit. So I'm going to press down that inside of my foot like I'm trying to get the foot flat. And then turn my waist completely towards the chair, navel down, palms down. And then take a up dog. Bring the right foot back, both feet back, heels up at the wall. Lean into the chair, lengthen the torso up. Good work, though. We're doing quite a bit today with everything considered. So get a feel of that length in the mid-body. If you need to, bring your knees to the ground. You can also do this with knees down if it's too much. It's a lot of arm strength to hold. Okay. Left foot steps under the chair, right heel down at the base of the wall. If you can't get it at the base, you could turn your foot out a little bit on the back leg. But I'd like it if you could have each leg in a different track. Feet are parallel, or so, and try to keep them that way. And then feel the length. This time we're going to go a little quicker with it. So, because your back muscles have already been in this shape for a while, it's just that the leg is in a different pattern. That's it. It's only different. So we'll work with the leg difference. So my right palm is onto the chair, and I'm going to bring the left hand to the sacrum, and then take that rotation to the left. Yeah, try to get this core path of the right side of the waist, like side of the belly button. That area, you want that to turn to the left. It usually just goes down towards the ground, right? Gravity takes it to just go there. But your work is on feeling the abdominal muscles pull in and up, and then you're breathing and rotating and left hand back. Oh, almost lost the balance. But get a feel for the circulation into your hip. Oh, I hope you feel it. Hope it's helpful. So feel where that rotation happens, the stretch into the right calf. Breathe. Okay, keep that left hand down. I know you get kind of excited about getting your arm in the air, and you could, of course. No one's going to hold you back, but feel that rotation in that left side of the waist. Maybe not as the hip as much as we'd like, but try. Okay. Now when you start to move your torso facing the belly button back towards the ground space, we bring the hands to the chair, both hands on the side clutch of the chair, left foot back, heels up at the wall, up dog, lengthen. Be careful, you want to be pushing down into the chair so it doesn't slide away. I know, we don't want to have that into the class. So lengthen the torso, and then lower the knees down. Okay, good. Okay, so put the chair, we still want it though. So I want you to have the chair at the back of your mat. You might have to do a little crawl in here. So I'm gonna have the chair. Now, if you're tall, I don't want your chair on the whole chair on the mat because you'll have too much reach. But I know I'm a little short, so I have the front feet of the chair for all of us should be on the mat, so it doesn't slide away. But you could have a little bit back. You'll find out. I just want you to have some foot of the chair, the base feet to be on the mat, so it doesn't go away. Okay. Take a bolster across. Okay, you're going to be needed to reach this chair a little bit, so I don't want it to be off the mat. Lean into your left hip. Okay, and then I don't know if the blankets need to be exactly 2 on this one. Usually it's 1, and then the 2, you roll it up a little bit, but 2 makes it pretty cozy. So I would go with the 2 to start. You can always get rid of 1. But you'll have it so you got this bolster next to your left leg. You got 2 blankets and a chair seat. Okay. You don't even need these blocks. You got a ball and a sandbag. This is like all interesting. If you're really close to the wall, this could be interesting for your legs. This will make you work a little bit. Now you'll stretch your right leg back so the foot might be at the wall, and you'll place the ball on the inside of that right leg. So you're in this kind of, if you didn't have the floor, you'd be kind of springing in the air with your knee piped up, like you're leaping, okay? So I want you to lean into that left side, and if you want to use a sandbag, use it. If you decide your side doesn't want a sandbag, then just put it on the ground, that's fine. But I want you to go with that reach. Yeah, the chair was a little closer than I thought. What are you doing there, chair? So the right hand can go up. Now, let's say you don't use the chair, your arm doesn't find this as valuable. You can have your arm on the side or down, but we are going to use it when we come up for twists and for our last Shavasana pose today. It's going to be excellent. I was really glad that the chair is used a little bit. So feel how your arm is up and then how your head can relax. Yeah, your arm has a few different reaches on the chair. It's not just the seat only. You could go towards a little bit of the arm of the chair and try to lengthen, right? So it's not just a one position only with your arm. Okay, but it's basically holding your arm at the height that your chest can stretch. You know, feeling what that's like. Now, let's say you want to push your chair farther back, you could. You could have it closer. But see if you can motion so that the arm is resting on that chair. Yeah, you can't get a block this high. Now we can feel that it's the right side. Okay, so we are working on this right side, you know, stimulating and communicating with this side, rotating, coming up. So this final spinal is a little bit heavy on the, you know, correspondence, the kinesthetic and intelligence. So just kind of stay with this. We'll keep it simple as I can. But as I lower the right hand, however you have it, if it's on the side, you're going to move the sand away. And bring your ribs down to the bolster. Well, actually curl into the bolster. Use your hands to push the bolster and come up. We're gonna sit on the bolster. See, I'm already I'm turning left. So I'm gonna sit up with my left seat, sit in one first, then my right. And now I want you to stretch you can either have your right leg straight or it can bend. And you'll cross your left leg over the right for a twist, okay? So let's say you decide I want my leg straight, left leg crosses over like this. If you bend it, you might feel like you get a little bit more of this kind of rotation from the base. You kind of already turn. That's the benefit of having your legs both bending. So hook the right arm to the left leg, reach the left hand back to the chair. It's very nice. I just love having a chair for these twists. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, my top is turning and well, your top, it won't come off, but you want to feel that there's support with your upper chest area as well. So I was going to do a horizontal chest opener right in this moment between, but I think this is a little more strengthening for you because you might not do this on your own time. I'm assuming this kind of thing versus, lie back on your bolster. That's why. So yes, you could have a sandbag on the right thigh, but we're just keeping it simple. So we have turned from that side sheath that we stretched in the side sage. So we're trying to work on the conditioning of that side of the waist. If it gets tight in your shoulder, you feel like, oh boy, that's working its way in. Soften your pressure with the right arm and just have the left hand back on the chair. Just feel a little more casual twist. Like you heard something on the left side and you're looking back. Okay. Let your head relax. You can tilt your ear to a shoulder if you want to stretch your neck, but sometimes just having your head up on top of the spine is good. Breathe. And now as we unwind, come back forward. That felt pretty good. Now shoulders shrug back. Of course I could reach back to my chair, but that's going to strain my shoulder personally. So I'm just going to roll them out. Okay, and uncross, of course, and slide down off your bolster and come to the side sage on the right hip. Now, you just twist it into this side, the left side, so it might feel really good, even better on the second side sage, because you already have this kind of activation here in the side. Okay, and then adding your sand and your head down to the blanket and your left arm over. So let your head relax down, feel where the weight is, into the waist, breathing. Now, if it's simple sensation, it's not building or it doesn't seem to be getting more interesting, that's okay. You don't have to have continuous circulation changes to be doing a good job here. You're feeling the ribs move with the breath. Your arm could be on the side, could be on the bolster, could be on the chair. Okay, now lower down that arm and shift the sand And see if you can prepare, since you have an idea of where this goes. Maybe you do. You roll to that right side, come up, and you can already find just the way of bending the left knee under, crossing the right leg over, and turning. So you just kind of keep the choreography consistent with the spiraling and concentration in the spine. And why do we want to do that? Right, we want to create this extension out of the root of the spine, out of the lumbar, out of the sacrum actually, so the base of the spine from the pelvis. And you want to keep that growth happening so there's not wedging in the vertebral column, right? Or, things packing down and, well, hopefully not any worse than that, right? So the idea is to feel where there's a natural arch. So for most of us, that's feeling like we're sitting up tall, lifting up our heart. That's how that happens. And then we're trying to keep that height as we rotate to the right. So I don't want you to lose that lift up. So I find holding this little side piece of my chair really nice because I can seize the motion of the ribs turning to the right, but you could have your palm on the chair seat too. You don't have to be holding this intensity. I just want it to be long lasting right through my spine so my vertebrae has that lift. Take a few more breaths here. Feel the twist, left leg down. Now, if your left leg doesn't want to be bending, you can have it straight. I see your foot could be close to the wall. That could work out too. Once you start to come out, so this is something good for homework, right? Sit next to the chair, do this kind of work. Start with the spine up and then turn. And then come forward, bring your feet together, the knees out, hands onto the thighs, so the upper piece of the thigh versus the knee. And then just lean forward, but try to still keep that natural arch in the spine, keep it smooth. We have this natural arch. Breathe. Come back up. Now, get a blanket. Where'd they go? Okay. Get a blanket, place it so where your feet are right now. Just one. Okay. Turn around to the chair and put a blanket on top. I would just cover, well, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on, if you don't have a mat on your chair, you probably need to fill your chair with the blanket because I don't want you to have just that surface, that hard surface isn't very comfortable to have your feet on. So if you have a little mat piece, I would get one, cut one for your chair. I just haven't found that I don't know, I just haven't used it lately. So changing it up. Now I'm going to lower onto my back and then bring my feet up on the chair. So first things first, you might get a feeling of scooting towards the chair. I have a feeling you could probably do this. Your back of your pelvis is on the bolster, back on the blanket, and then legs up on the chair. If you go, oh my gosh, that's too much, you can slide off the bolster and then come into it from bridge pose. But you basically want this elevation pattern. And this, I really like this on my calves. If I can kind of slide my legs to the very side, so I kind of hook the ankle onto the back of the chair. Let's see, I think Susan, this would work for you with your chair back. Maybe not. Could be tricky, huh? Okay, well, if that's tricky, you can scoot back a bit so your legs aren't reaching through. We don't want anyone to have an accident with the chair stuck to them. Okay, back of the pelvis onto the bolster. Sand free, let's just be free of sand. And if your knees kind of move apart, that's great. It's perfect. You don't have to focus on the knees being perfectly straight up. If the knees move a little bit apart, that might be helpful for your back to ease. And then let the eyes close. If you have an eye pillow or you're using your eye pillows, you already have your eyelids. Letting your eyes relax so the brain state is internal. And simply feel how you manifest balance on these props, right? Noticing the bolster. You might have to nudge things around in your back, and so you really do feel comfortable. Invite the belly to move with the breath. Yeah, you might have to nudge around, and the bolster should be under your pelvis, not under your middle back. Because if your bolster is under your ribs, it's too far up. Should be under your seat. That makes sense? Yeah. It's a wave-like motion. It's a waterfall. Circulation to your abdominal organs and then your thyroid area right at your throat. Nothing like doing poses as healthcare here. So feel the correspondence of the breath into the nervous system to settle and soothe. Now swallowing to clear the passageway of your throat. Now feel how the legs motion a little bit closer towards each other. Scoot the legs close towards touching. And feel if you can let your back pelvis that's on the bolster continue to soften. So you're not trying to get more rigid in that area. You want that to lengthen, that natural arch. And then carefully scoot the feet to the chair, edge of the chair seat. It's mild. You don't want to shove the chair away, but you want to feel that it has the bottom of the foot open. Okay, and for most of us, just to be safe, right, with the bolster, one way you can work to come up is you can just simply bring your knees to your chest, roll to the side. Or some of us might go ahead and put our feet on the ground and slide the bolster out and come out, right? So if you decide that's your safest way, you can lift your hips. I just don't want you to push into your chair seat because it would slide the chair away and then you would be in despair. So roll to the side to come up, and you can sit facing your chair if you need to, because moving it all around is too much adjustment. But take a seat on your bolster, facing any direction, and let your spine find its line out of the back of the pelvis. Let your hands lift up in front of the heart center, so there's a collective generating focus here inside from the group. And let's take a breath in. And exhale, bowing into your heart. In gratitude. Namaste. Thank you. Okay. That was creatively curious, wasn't that, huh? I almost hit the end button there.